So first, I'm Dave Duskin. I'm the communications chair for District 5050, and I'm hosting this Zoom meeting tonight, assisting the presenters. So I'm going to share the screen here. And just for everyone's information, this is being recorded. It will be appearing on the YouTube channel, the district YouTube channel. It also could be added, a link could be added to social media and those sorts of things. So if you don't want to be on that video, then you need to shut off your video. And if you don't want to be heard, you have to mute yourself. I think there's few of us enough tonight that I don't think if there's any questions, it's up to the presenters if they want to have you raise your hands electronically with the down at the bottom there, or whether they want you to just wave your hand at them, whatever.
I think waving your hand or just speaking up, we're gonna be pretty informal tonight, I think.
So Carl, you're gonna start things off and introduce yourself.
Well, let's get through the 5 slides.
Okay, I'd be happy to do that.
Right, so welcome the purpose, yeah, go ahead.
Welcome to Learning and Development. It's part of the club training Fiesta. This session tonight is Toastmasters and Rotary, a winning combination. Before we start, why the Fiesta of Learning and Development? An educated and informed Rotarian. Rotaractor is an empowered and engaged Rotarian. An investment in learning and development grows Rotarians professionally and personally. So we're following the Rotary International Action Plan. That plan is in effect until 2024. We're going to shift focus from gaining new members to delivering value and engaging members. So I'll stop the share and then turn it over to you, Carl. Is that what
yes,
you'd
please.
Like to?
That sounds great. All right. Thank you, Dave. Thank you so much. And welcome everybody for the Training Fiesta, also known as the District Assembly in years past. To start us off this evening, we have a delightful speaker, Stephanie Hooper. She's been a Toastmaster since 2006 and has achieved her Distinguished Toastmaster level of award, and she got that in 2014. She served as president of both of her Toastmasters clubs. One isn't always enough. That's the Burlington Better Speakers and the Skagit Valley Speakers. Stephanie has also served as Toastmaster District 2 and Area Director and Division Director. And she has since joined Rotary in 2014 after attending the International Rotary Convention with her husband, Daryl, when he was president of the Burlington Rotary Club, and just completed her year as president of the Rotary Club of Burlington. Let's please welcome Stephanie Hooper.
And I managed to remember to unmute myself. Nobody had to remind me. Isn't that the way we start everything these days? How many of you have not heard about the Rotary and Toastmaster Alignment? Fantastic, you've all heard about it. Now, with another show of hands, how many of you have belonged or do belong to both organizations? There we go. All right, Joan, you are also a Toastmaster then.
I was in Toastmaster for a couple of years.
Fantastic. Well, I think this alignment is a perfect blend of two organizations. And I often refer to myself and Carl and Yulia and now you as a Rotamaster Toastarian, because the two blend so well. And so what does that mean for us as Rotarians? Both organizations have their statements on the websites. Basically, it's to enhance the Rotary and Toastmaster experience personally and professionally, with growth and service opportunities for both. In addition, there's a hope that it will increase membership organically and that the member benefits would be improved for both organizations. I've been trying to find out how this came about, and I haven't been able to find an answer. If any of you know, I'd be delighted. Let me know later what it is, but I have a theory. In 2011, a Toastmaster club chartered in-house at Toastmaster International in Evanston, Illinois. So there is a Toastmaster club within there. And I'm guessing over time, international presidents, board members coming and going, and discussions began and people met, and somehow this blossomed out of it. I like to think that. I don't really know how it happened and who approached who, but I'm delighted it happened. Both organizations are rich in history. Rotary, 1905 with Paul Harris. His goal was to bring together businessmen in Chicago to support one another in business and for fellowship. It basically started as a networking group. Now today, we know those numbers, we hear them often. There's 1.2 million members in 200 countries with 35,000 clubs. Toastmasters started in 1924 with Ralph Smedley in Santa Ana, California. Now, he saw a need for men in business to learn how to speak, plan programs, serve on committees, work on committees. Sounds like the kind of things we do in Rotary, right? It has today grown to 364,000 members, 145 countries, and 16,200 clubs. Now, those are the current statistics that you can Google and find out. I'm guessing both organizations are struggling a little bit, but COVID numbers might be a little bit different when all said and done. And both are very similar in structure, particularly in leadership. We have district directors, we have district governors, we have area directors, assistant governors, same sort of leadership model, I would say. Now, both were founded for businessmen in mind, and both organizations saw the light. That's how I like to say it. Toastmasters in 1973 and Rotary in 1989. Anybody want to take a guess on what happened in those years for these organizations? All right, I can't see your hands because I'm only seeing myself on the screen.
Women.
Yes, there you go. Toastmasters International has had several women international presidents since this started, but as you all know, we have one coming up in Rotary, Jennifer Jones, in, I don't remember the year anymore, 23, 24 perhaps, I think something like that. Now here's a piece of trivia for Toastmasters. There was a woman, her name was Helen Blanchard, and she began attending Toastmasters in 1970. Now think about that, that was 3 years before women were allowed to be in Toastmasters. So they put her application, the men had invited her to be part of the club, and they put her application in as H. Blanchard. But Toastmasters would not have anything to do with that. They wanted a first name. So the club held a contest to determine what her name would be. And Helen Blanchard joined Toastmasters as Homer Blanchard. Now, this woman obviously was meant to be in that place because she went on to be international president 15 years later. It was a good thing that they let her in. Now, our president-elect for Rotary, Shekhar Mehta, recently spoke at a Toastmaster event, and he said, a goal should have a possibility of failing and should stretch you. And at the same conference, president-elect for Toastmasters, Margaret Page, out of Delta, BC, by the way, said, Toastmasters develops your skills and helps you find your voice. You become the person you want to be when you stretch yourself. Both president-elects see the value in stretching yourself. And it has been my experience that people often avoid leadership opportunities because they feel inadequate or uncomfortable with their leadership and public speaking skills. Now, the benefits listed on our Rotary as a member are forging friendships, making business contacts, serving the community, and building skills. Toastmasters lists their benefits as unlimited opportunities for personal and professional growth, wealth of educational materials and resources on public speaking, listening skills. We never think about needing to develop those, but those are pretty important. Meeting protocol, which Carl is going to talk about later in this session, and using technology in presentations. For a lot of people, that is really crucial these days. And so Toastmasters is a great platform to practice and work on those skills. And of course, basically, effective communication, because that is the number one quality of a successful leader, is being able to communicate. Now, you know how Rotary can impact your life. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how Toastmasters can impact your life. Basically, what's in it for me. So what was in it for me? Without my years in Toastmasters, I would never have said yes to being club president in Rotary Club of Burlington. It was through Toastmasters and working my way through their program that I developed the confidence in my leadership and public speaking skills. And I can assure you, just like our president-elects talk about, stretching myself is never easy. No one likes to stretch themselves, but it's an experience that I'm grateful for, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Not once have I been sorry for all those years. And I don't know where you're at or where you want to go in life. And no matter our age, and that becomes more relevant for me each year, we always want to stretch ourselves because that's what keeps our lives vital and energized. I'd like to highlight 3 things that I have learned through my Rotary and Toastmaster experience. 1, early on, I learned that fear is never a reason to say no. And we don't want members saying no to leadership in Rotary. Always be open to stepping out of your comfort zone. And there are great rewards for that. And there's a quote that Zig Ziglar has that I just love. You didn't come this far to only come this far. Excellence does not require perfection. When I discovered that, that was very freeing. We can be excellent in all we do and all we deliver, but we don't have to be perfect. We avoid opportunities because we think we have to be perfect. And Toastmasters is a very safe environment to work on the excellence that we can bring to an organization. A fellow Toastmaster, he described a Toastmaster club very well. He said, it's the friendliest place you can fall on your face. And it is so true. This particular man actually, during a speech, burned a hole in our host venue's carpet. So he truly fell on his face, and he is still in Toastmasters. There is no better value or education program around to develop our skills like Toastmasters. You work at your own pace, and the program is proven. Now, these skills not only apply in equipping you for your Rotary experience, they also equip you for your career, for job interviews, and I think they just help you in navigating life in general. I'm going to leave you with 2 action steps, and I hope you got a sense of what Toastmasters is. One is that there are several modules on rotary.org/learning center. They were created by Toastmasters for Rotarians, and they're related to public speaking and leadership. And I highly recommend you check them out. And I don't know if you can see this, but this is the inside back cover of our April Toastmaster magazine. And it actually charts out these modules and where they'll take you. Develop a speech, deliver a speech, inspirational speech, interpersonal communication and networking, leadership basics, leading a team, collaboration, and building consensus. And all those modules are there, and I highly recommend that you check them out because they are a very good resource. Now, another challenge I have for you is visit a Toastmaster club. And what is really cool right now is you can visit one anywhere in the world. You go to toastmasters.org, you choose find a club, and you put in your parameters. And you can put in your postal code, your zip code, and how many miles you're willing to go. But like I said, At this time now, you can go anywhere in the world. I have been to Alaska, London, Edmonton, New Mexico, and most recently, I gave a presentation to a Toastmaster club in Salmon Arm about Rotary. So the opportunities with Zoom are endless. Now, here is what you really need to do when you visit a Toastmaster club, and I really hope you do. And if you need help finding one, we'd be happy to help you. Invite them to visit Rotary. Invite them to your club. Invite them to, if they're local, invite them to participate in a project that you have going, especially if it's a community outreach project, because those are not available within Toastmasters. Now, Rotary offers Toastmasters an opportunity to engage in their community. Toastmasters offers the opportunity to equip yourself to serve your Rotary club. It's a win-win. Rotary's tagline, service above self. Toastmasters, where leaders are made. Perfect alignment of two organizations, and it is a winning combination. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah,
It's very
I guess
quiet.
I was in Toastmasters such a long time ago that it's probably changed a lot. Like it's probably been 20 years since I was in Toastmasters. So
Yeah.
I just don't remember all these different modules and paths. I remember our meetings. I remember our little tasks and the challenge and the 1-minute responses and things like that. But when did all this structure around modules and stuff, when did that come into the play? Or do I just have a very poor memory?
No, that was something designed and developed just for Rotary as part of the alignment. So that it's not necessarily that Rotarians have to go to Toastmasters. It's certainly, I think, a great opportunity, but you could go onto those modules, and those have been designed with the same education program that we're using now. They call it Pathways. When you were in, it would have been manuals, the Competent Communicator Manual, and then the advanced manuals and that type of thing. So how long were you in Toastmasters?
I was in Toastmasters, I think, for 2 years. That's when
Okay.
I was working for the Alberta government years and years and years ago. Yeah, and they had it at my work, which was great. So we'd just go at lunch or right after work, I guess it was, and have a meeting. So that was quite handy.
Toastmasters rebranded and came up with Pathways about 2 years ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the modules now are very refined, and it's really highly polished. Good stuff.
It is. And I have gone through a few of the ones on the Learning Center and Rotary.org, and they are superb. They are clear, precise. And I recommend if there's something you really wanted to try, you find a Rotary club, any Toastmaster club would welcome if you wanted to practice one of your speeches. In fact, you could go through the module, develop a speech, and then go to a Toastmaster club and tell them about Rotary. I mean, you can pick low-hanging fruit when you do a speech. Tell them about something you know, and it's a great way to reach out to the community.
Well, there's other benefits to Toastmasters, and it's not just for you, but your family members and your employees. I've had, as Stephanie and Yulia know, just about every employee I ever had was somehow compelled to join Toastmasters. Roy, go ahead.
Well, we kind of know how you compelled them, but that's another.
Roy, you had a question?
Yeah, just an idea of the average length of time of a Toastmaster meeting.
You know, that depends. Most of them are an hour. The noon club I belong to, we meet once a week on Tuesdays for an hour. And the evening club I belong to, it's just twice a month for an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay,
The one in
similar-
Salmon Arm meets for 2 hours. It was long.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, we have a crazy club in Cedar Woolley that starts at 6:45. The plan was that it's
AM.
and it's so difficult for people to find time on their regular schedule. we thought that if we aim for the morning, then at 7:45, everyone is free and can just get to their work and not worry about it for the rest of the day. So you can find almost anything that might fit your schedule.
All right. Well, thank you, Stephanie. Maybe we should move on to our next feature.
Our next feature is Yulia, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you my fellow Rotarian and Toastmaster, Yulia Garrison. Yulia has lived on both sides of District 50/50. In Canada, she was a teacher at the Coquitlam School District. After a stringent series of at least 200 hours of Latin dance classes, Carl earned the right to successfully import her across the border. And she can't go back right now. Yulia continues to teach, but now in the role of Edward Jones Financial Advisor in Cedar Woolley. Please welcome Yulia Garrison.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Stephanie and I share 3 wonderful experiences together. One is Rotary, one is Toastmaster, and the third one is Canada. All 3 are there. I don't think she shares my love of Latin dance. I don't think I've ever heard that coming from her. So we won't compel her there. So this session is about your Rotary message. Picture this. You are at a Rotary conference. Your room is on the 11th floor. As you are stepping into the elevator and smile to the person already inside, they notice your Rotary pin. What's this? It's a Rotary pin. I am in Rotary. What's Rotary? And guess what? Now you have all the way to the lobby, full 11 floors, about 60 seconds to make a difference in their life. You are in an elevator. You can elevate their knowledge, their perception of Rotary. So glad you asked. Rotary is a wonderful worldwide service organization. It brings together business people, professional leaders to advance goodwill and peace around the world. 35,000 clubs worldwide and 1.2 million members. Just imagine 1.2 million instant friends all around the world who live by the 4-way test. It's transformational. It certainly has been for me. And let me tell you my why. Why I am in Rotary. For me, and here is where you get to share with them your elevator speech, your Rotary message that you'll be crafting today just in a few minutes. We shall focus on that very personal, deeply meaningful to you part of that elevator speech. Why are you in Rotary? You can touch a myriad of sub-questions. Why did you join Rotary? Who brought you to Rotary? Why are you staying in Rotary after all these years? How did Rotary change you? How did Rotary change your life? Your family? Lives of those around you? Lives of those far, far away? How long have you been in Rotary? What have you learned through Rotary? The list is endless. What are the most important aspects to you? Invite them to visit a club, your club perhaps. You could use a few more members, can't you? You might even think of stories that will start coming to your mind. You may not have the time today to tell those stories or in an elevator ride, but hey, jot those ideas down and develop them later. Look for the inspiring, compelling, memorable, perhaps even amusing, entertaining stories. You have plenty of those under your belt from your time in Rotary, right? And guess what? You might just get stuck in that elevator. And then you'll have all the time in the world to tell them all those Rotary stories and then some. Why are you in Rotary? In a minute, Dave will group people together into breakout rooms. Thank you, Dave, for being our wonderful host today. You will have 7 minutes total to craft your elevator speech and share it with your little group. 4 minutes to draft and 3 minutes to share. Pick your spokesperson while you're at it. And when you're back, we'll ask you to share your Rotary message, your why. And as a warm-up, since we already have them here, let's have a couple of shares now from Carl and Stephanie. Stephanie, what will you say to that nice fella in the elevator? Why are you in Rotary?
Excellent question. There's a life quote by William James that I always think of when I think of my time in Rotary, and that is the greatest use of life is to spend it on something that will outlast it. And like many, we have hearts to serve. We have hearts that want to make a difference in the world, a positive difference. And yet sometimes we can only do a little bit by ourselves. And that's what I love about Rotary. Rotary offers opportunities for you to collectively make a huge impact on the world around you. And that's why I'm in Rotary, and that's why I stay in Rotary, as I see the impact our club has on the community and our global projects. And then I come to conferences and conventions like this, and I see 17,000 people making a huge difference in the world.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I love that idea of collective power. Thank you so very much. Carl, why are you in Rotary? It's been what, over 25 years for you? You're still here?
Yes, I am. Thank you for the question. I'm in Rotary because I am a small business owner, and I wanted to meet the movers and the shakers in the community. So half of me wanted the business networking part of this. My father was a Rotarian, so I knew it was good stuff. I stay in Rotary because I have the fun and fellowship of my Rotarians here in Cedar-Woolley. And that really happens when you're an active member, and I have been a very active member. And what I like most about being in Rotary is that I have been on 4 international trips to do good things, drill wells, put in septic systems, and build school. We built a school and built wood stoves down in Guatemala. And that is what really turns my crank. It keeps me coming back for more.
Thank you so much, Carl. And thank you. I'm grateful that you brought me to Rotary as well. So you can see how very different those little snippets are. So yours will be very different as well. It will be yours. And now it's time for the breakout rooms. 4 minutes to draft your Rotary message and your personal why, and 3 minutes to share it with a group. And when you share, just say your name, club, and say why you are in Rotary. And we'll see you back in 7 minutes, and we'll get to hear your messages as well. Looking forward to them. All back. I don't know if you guys got to share in your breakout room. We just got to that point, so we're going to share here, right? How did it go for the other group?
Well, the group that I was in, Lloyd, did you get one written?
I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Oh, good. All right.
Okay.
So so Rhonda and Corinne had theirs written and actually gave it a dry run.
Wow, you guys are efficient. Fantastic. Well, Lloyd, do you want to just go?
Sure. Okay. I've been in Rotary for over 30 years now. How I got into Rotary was I was the operations manager in a municipality here in Mission, and we had a gravel pit that was exhausted and had to be restored back to nature. And I proposed to our Parks and Rec department that we convert the gravel pit into a sports park. It's a 20-acre site. And for a short period of time, I had left the municipality and was working in the construction industry and became good friends with the training operator for the Operating Engineers Training Union, where they train heavy equipment operators. So I proposed to my boss, who was the CEO, that we look at possibly doing this, revert this site from a gravel pit into a sports park. My boss was a Rotarian and he happened to be president that year. I knew next to nothing about Rotary. I only overheard sometimes at what he was doing and that. So they invited me to the club to speak and do a presentation on my proposal. They decided that they would take this on as in a supporting role, and out of that came, they invited me to join Rotary. The reason I'm still in Rotary is just the companionship and also the opportunity for service in our community and internationally. Our club has got a couple of dentists in it, and one of the dentists has done quite a few international dental missions. So we've put together a team, and for a few years, quite a few years, up until COVID now, we were going to somewhere in the world and with a team of dentists and doing dental work. I got to go along on those. Also, our team, or our community has always got something going on. So it's kept me active, and that's what's kept me in it. Is about the time that I'm getting just a little bit saying, well, okay, that's fine. I've done my stint. Then another new project comes up that I get involved in and stay with it. So I'm still there, and I'm looking forward to continuing on. Not so active as I was, because I'm getting up there in age. I'm 82 now, and physically I'm still able to do quite a bit, but not as much as I used to. So that's my story.
My goodness. My goodness. Well, hopefully at this point you walked out at the elevator, right? And you're going to the restaurant together, and you can share, even because you obviously have so many more stories there. Thank you so much, Lloyd. Round of applause for Lloyd.
Thank you.
Goodness gracious, what a Rotary life journey. Wonderful. Well, do we have time for one more?
Just one.
Just one. So we're gonna, I'm gonna just be the elevator. Bing. I don't know if that's close enough to the, Carl, can you do an elevator sound?
Just go.
Okay. Who would like to take turn, please? Go ahead, Roy.
Yeah, okay. I joined Rotary back in the early 90s, and I was invited into a club because I wanted to have an opportunity to give back to the community, do a little bit of community service, and help out other people. I felt fortunate enough that I could do that, and I was invited into a club, and on the understanding that it was an organization, the service organization worldwide, that had no political agenda, it had no religious agenda, and it would give me an opportunity to give back. It would give me an opportunity to meet people, and it would give me an opportunity to learn, and it would give me an opportunity to help. And so that sounded like a pretty good situation for me, and I got involved. And all of those expectations were met, and I was enjoying the thing. A couple of examples of how the magic of Rotary works is when I was many years ago, my wife is a member of a Buddhist group from Japan, and they had their high priest and a big delegation that came over to celebrate the anniversary of the city group here in Vancouver. And so we had a big affair down at the Hyatt Hotel, and my children were still fairly young. So when all of these people were gathered together to have their service, I was at the back of the room with my children, kind of trying to keep them under control a little bit. But I was wearing my Rotary pin and just in the back. And the service went over very well. And when the service was over, one of the members in the touring group that came up to me and said that the high priest wants to speak to you. And I said, oh, okay. And so I came up there, and he had a big smile on his face, and he says, welcome. He says, I'm a Rotarian too. And he was the district governor for Osaka at that time. And we chatted a little bit about Rotary, and he was a friend basically until he passed away a few years ago. We'd exchange gifts back and forth, and he liked wine. He liked wine an awful lot, and I was making homemade wine and I'd give him bottles of wine, and it was great fun. That's one example. The other example is when I joined our club in the Surrey Club. I met one of the other members there, and we started talking, and we had a lot of laughs together, and we ended up forming a company, and we still have that company operating today, and it's a land development group. We buy land and then sell it off for others to develop. But this one piece of land that we have right now, we are in the process of gifting a portion of it through the Surrey Rotary Club to the Fraser Health Authority and the First Nations Health Authority for an Indigenous Health and Wellness Center to be built on the site. And it's our gift is the gift of the land, and the gift to the community is the Indigenous health and welfare. It's going to have a smokehouse is a smokehouse or a sweat lodge. Sorry, a sweat lodge in it, and it's going to have accommodations for out of town families to come in when one of their members needs it. It will focus on traditional Indigenous treatments as well as Western medicine treatments as well. And that plan is proceeding quite nicely right at the moment. So hey, what better reason to be in Rotary to do things like that? That's my story.
Good job. Good job.
My goodness, I love that magic of Rotary. Well, I have to tell you guys, you really need to have many more stories than just 11 stories, story building. So definitely, or you can just go back and forth in an elevator because you've got so much experience to share. Wonderful. Thank you so very much. Well, I think we do need to proceed. Otherwise, we'll stay here all night. But we are looking forward to hearing the rest of the stories next time we see you at the event. And maybe we will get a chance to sit at the restaurant together, to table together, and then we get to know a lot more. It's so much fun to get to know about our fellow Rotarians. Thank you so very much. And with this, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the next person on our agenda. It's a 25-year Rotarian and 25-year Toastmaster who happens to be my favorite salsa partner dancer, as well as the most amazing water system engineer I've ever known. Don't know about you. My husband, Carl Garrison.
Thank you. Well, one of the things about Toastmasters is we like to stay on time. And you know what? We're going to end on time, one way or another. So here we go. Get your seatbelt on. I'm going to cover a lot of material. But if it's important and you want to ask a question, let's stop because we don't have to cover everything in one night. It's okay. I'd like to cover what you do when you're going to an event and you're going to be a featured speaker. Does that Does that elicit any kind of anxiety in you if you're the featured speaker? I know it does me if I'm not prepared. And what Toastmasters can do for you is it can help you be prepared to mitigate some of that anxiety. So I want to talk about what you do before an event, what you do after, a little bit about venues and protocol, and then what you do when you're leading a group. And you can imagine yourself as a Rotary president or a business person organizing business people, or maybe it's a wedding or a funeral. There's all kinds of things that where people who need to have the skills and talents that come along with public speaking. So before your event, and since you're all Rotarians, one of the things that works very nicely for this is, let's say that you're getting ready for a Rotary meeting. It's really nice to have an agenda, no matter what kind of meeting. All the wedding pamphlets, they're an agenda, right? When you write an agenda, it helps you prepare for the talk that you're going to give. And you want to do it well in advance so that your brain processes all the things that need to occur. And if you can get it down to minute by minute even, that will really help trigger, oh, I need napkins. Oh, I need forks. I need food. I need whatever. And if you can bring other people into the agenda process, that really helps a lot. Your duty as the organizer of the meeting or the event is to set the tone and the agenda is a great way to do that. So make sure and send it out to the people that need it early, and that way they can be thinking about it. Sometimes you have to have planning sessions, like just getting ready for this talk and others like it. We will meet several times so that we have an agenda and we polish what it is we're going to say so that it flows. And you can't do that by accident. If you wing it, people know. Some of the techie issues about your agenda, always do a sound check. You know, those batteries on those microphones, they die at the worst times. So always have a backup battery. And nowadays you have to do an internet check because the speed of which your internet projects, if you're doing videos or something, it may work at certain times of the day, but not other times. So make sure that you really flush those things out. They're really important because nothing's worse than Murphy's Law coming to bite you when you least expect it. So when you're at here's a little more of a tip and trick thing. When you're at your venue, is it a podium or is it a lectern? What's the difference? A podium is something you stand on, like a raised platform with a microphone. A lectern is what we probably use more often, which is a box that you speak behind and it may have a microphone on it. It's not a big thing, but it's nice to know the difference. And most of the time people get it wrong. They always call the lectern the podium. So if you know what it is, you'll at least know that they don't know what you're talking about. So there you pick that up. You've already got that little piece of information. Depending on your event or your meeting, you have to order food or not. Getting all of those items done in advance is really important. Like if you've ever planned a Rotary auction, for example, how much planning does that take? Lots. So you can never do enough, it seems like. Now, if you have guest speakers, I have a couple points about this, especially at a Rotary Club meeting. Don't just take whatever speaker falls in your lap. Try to avoid that. Try to go out and seek really good speakers, right? And that way your Rotary clubs are engaging. That's the whole point of this training Fiesta, is to make things engaging so that we don't lose membership, so that people want to stick around. And you do that by planning ahead, inviting really good speakers well in advance, because the really good ones have a full schedule. It may take you a year or 8 months to get somebody to actually get there. I think one of my favorite examples is when John Edwards got Rick King to speak at the 24-person Rotary Club of Surrey. And he flew up from LA to be the speaker, and they invited people from all over the district. There was like 200 people to hear him speak. It was pretty fantastic. And it was done because John Edwards planned it, if you know who he is. All right. The other thing about speakers is when you are tasked with inviting or introducing a speaker, it's really important to do a decent job of introducing it. And you can have fun with this. It's great if you ask them to get a prepared introduction, because you may not know them very well and they may have all these accolades and so forth that you want to be able to capture when you introduce them. The more dignified the speaker is for the organization, like if it's the district governor that's going to visit, you want to really make sure you get that one right. And then, like if it's your wife introducing you or you introducing your wife for this event here, you can say, and for now, for example, I would like to invite to the lectern my favorite financial advisor. She's every investor's dream. Please help me welcome my beautiful bride, Yulia. And there's no reason that you can't have some fun with that and honor and elevate the speaker so that they feel good, because the speaker in a speaking situation almost always has anxiety and is very nervous. And anything you can do to help them really helps everybody. And one way, as a listener, that you're all out there, you can smile and give positive head nods and things like that to the speaker, and that helps them, gives them some energy. And we're not going to have enough time to really get into everything that I'm going to discuss, that I had prepared to discuss, but that's okay. I'm going to wrap it up here in about 1 or 2 minutes. So if you have any questions that are burning, I want you to be thinking about them and hit us up right before we end here. One of the things that I wanted to caution you about is humor. We love humor in Rotary meetings, but always make sure that you're not picking on somebody else when you're giving humor, because that can be really offensive. And I know that you Canadians don't have that problem, but Americans, we do have that problem. We're never sorry enough, and you Canadians are so good at that, and I appreciate that. But if you're going to be picking on anybody, it should be yourself, generally in front of a group. Don't use any swear words or negative language that never really adds to anything. There's ahs and ums. You've ever heard anybody give an ah or an when they're speaking? Those interjections or filler words. Toastmasters is fantastic at helping you root them out of your life. We have an ah counter. Their whole purpose in the meeting is to count the number of ahs and ums that you give, and they give a report at the end so that it helps you learn how to eliminate them. And after just a few meetings, you'll improve dramatically at that. So that's really a great thing about Toastmasters. And with that, I'm just going to wrap it up and open it up for questions. We have a little more material, but it's really not important. I would love to get any feedback, and then I'm going to hand it over when we're done to Stephanie for the wrap up. Does anybody have any questions about how to run a meeting, how to lead a meeting, anything like that? Any stories of something that worked or didn't work? That might even be more fun. Stephanie.
One thing that I learned in Toastmasters that I brought to my leadership as club president when we met in person, but I still did it on Zoom, is to lead the applause. A lot of times we introduce a speaker and there's this dead silence and people aren't sure, some are uncomfortable. So if you're introducing someone or you're leading a meeting, start the applause and then the room folds, because that also helps the speaker feel welcome.
That leads me to another tip, that when you're the president of Rotary and you have a speaker that's going too long and you need to get everybody out, a tip that I always did was I would just get up and I would inch closer to the lectern or the podium, whichever it was, so that by the time I was 1 or 2 feet away from them, they were out of time and they realized, oh, I'm out of time, I better get out of here. And if you don't do that, then you can really lose track of your schedule. And so that's a great way to do it when you're in person. On Zoom, it's a little harder. Corinne.
I was just going to ask you, so on Zoom, can you do like the 5 minutes or something just to?
You can. And if you tell people in advance, if you say, I'm going to give you 5-minute warning, or and then a 2-minute warning, or you can even do these things, which are so effective in Toastmasters. I have, if I can get my computer to wake up, I have a virtual background that is a yellow.
I'm showing it, Carl.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Yulia. So that's a green. That means that, hey, everything is really good, but you're getting close to the yellow. And there's the yellow, and you better start thinking about wrapping it up. So that's another great thing about Toastmasters is we time all the speakers and the evaluators, and you get really good at ending on time. With that, We have 2 minutes left, and I want to return it to Stephanie to open it up for one more round of good nuggets that maybe we got out of this.
Thank you, Carl. What I hope that you got from this evening is some familiarity of what happens in a Toastmaster meeting, what you get out of Toastmasters, because we have an alignment here and it's good to understand what the other organization is all about. And then Yulia helped us with our communication skills to think about them ahead of time. So when someone does ask you Rotary and why, you're prepared with a response because you've given it thought. And then Carl reminded us all how important it is to plan and be prepared, because when you're prepared, it goes much better. And I thought about all this, and early on when Dave put up the screen of the action plan, to be honest with you, I think that's the first time I've really understood what the action plan for 2024 is about. And increasing our impact and expanding our reach, enhancing participant engagement, increase our ability to act. And I think this series that our district has been offering this month do those very things to equip us to go out there and to give us a little bit more than we normally would get in our relationship with Rotary. So I would like to invite you, and if you have to get off, I understand, but I'd love to take a couple of minutes and have you share something that you learned this evening, something that impacted you, your takeaway, because we get a lot of information and we usually only walk away with one or two things, and that's okay. So something that you meant that related to you, was relevant to you this evening, that would be terrific.
I think
And everybody can.
we haven't heard from Joan. I have a feeling that she has a lot to say.
No, I don't have a lot to say, but I did want to thank you for putting on the presentation. It was really well done and reminded me a lot of what I did learn when I was in Toastmasters. So I really appreciate everything you put into making this presentation tonight. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joan. Roy.
My takeaway was basically the compatibility between Rotary and Toastmasters. I didn't realize the way that they could work together so nicely. So yeah, that was very helpful, and it's something that we can definitely utilize in any club. And I thank you for pointing that out. I have something that I've taken away today. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, we did a training in the last fall. Was it last fall or a year ago last fall?
It was November, I think. Yeah.
Right. And it was about 4 hours of this type of stuff. This is a superficial, just a introduction, but the 4 hours is still pretty superficial, but it was much more, it was more detailed, and then it really gave you a good idea of what the two are all about, more so. And we will probably do that on an annual basis, and we're targeting, just so that you know, to tell people in your clubs, we're targeting board members and president nominees and president elects, so that they can get a little exposure to Toastmasters, be aware of it, so that when they're president, they'll have a few tips and tricks that they otherwise wouldn't have up their sleeve.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It was outstanding, and I've been inspired to learn more.
Great. All right. Well,
Fantastic. Thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you all, and thank you especially Dave for helping us with the
And
managing of the thing.
I was excited to see Corinne left in the message that she's going to the Learning Center to look at the modules. So
Hey.
good for, yes.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's been wonderful to see you all tonight.
Thank you.